let's look at adding and subtracting rational expressions. The first thing you need to remember is you need to remember how to find the least common multiple. Or the LCM. To find the LCM of two polynomials, the first thing you need to do is completely factor and take it down to its prime. So 12x squared y times x squared plus 2x plus 1 is equal to, let's see, 12 is 2 squared times 3, x squared y, and now I need to factor this, and this is x plus 1 squared. Now let me look at this second term, 18x y cubed times x squared plus 5x plus 4. Let's see, 18 is 2 times 3 squared, x y cubed. Now when I factor this, this is going to be x plus 1 times x plus 4. Now, to find the least common multiple, we're going to look at our two terms, and we're going to take it term by term, and we're going to take the highest power of any term, of either one of the terms. So, the least common multiple between 2 squared and 2, this is really 2 to the first, is 2 squared. So I'm going to take that term. The least common multiple between 3 and 3 squared is 3 squared. The least common multiple between x squared and x is x squared. The least common multiple between y and y cubed is y cubed. Now I've got this term x plus 1 and x plus 1, but this one is squared, so the least common multiple is going to be x plus 1 squared. Now I've worked through all of these, and I see I'm still left with x plus 4. So this is the least common multiple of these two polynomials. Let me rewrite this. 4 times 9 is 36. X squared, y cubed, x plus 1 squared times x plus 4. Please leave it in factored form. Now let's find the least common denominator between these two terms. To do that, we're only going to look at the denominators. And we're going to find the least common multiple between them. So for 15y, this is 3 times 5 times y. And 6z is 3 times 2 times z. So the least common multiple, or in this case, since they're fractions, I'm going to call it least common denominator, is, let's see, I have 1 3 in each, I have 1 5, I have 1 2, I like to do the numbers first, I have 1 z and 1 y. So this becomes 30 y z. So if I wanted to add these, I would need to find that number right there, that least common denominator between the two. What about when I have polynomials? Well, same thing. I'm only going to look at the denominators. So x squared is x squared. There's nothing much you can do with that. X squared minus 9 is x minus 3, x plus 3. So the least common denominator for this pair is going to be x squared times x minus 3 times x plus 3. Now, what do you do when you're adding two rational expressions? Well, the first thing you need to do is find the least common denominator. So, to get the least common denominator, let's see. For x minus 1, it's just x minus 1. And that is a term. Make sure you put your parentheses. For x squared minus 3x plus 2, this factors into x minus 1, x minus 2. So the least common denominator is going to be x minus 1 times x minus 2. So how do you add these? Well, I'm going to write this in fully factored form. X divided by x minus 1, and we'll leave a little space, plus 2x minus 1, I'll put parentheses, divided by x minus 1, x minus 2. Now I know my least common denominator is x minus 1 times x minus 2. So I'm going to multiply each of these by 1, and I'm going to do it smart. I'm going to do it so that I get x minus 1 times x minus 2 in the denominator. So for the first one, I have x minus 1. So all I need is x minus 2 to get the denominator of x minus 1 times x minus 2. So what I do to the denominator, I must do to the numerator. And please use your parentheses because this will save you grief later. This one, I don't have to do anything because it's already at the least common denominator stage. After you get a least common denominator, your next step is going to be to multiply this mess out. Okay? So I'm going to distribute this x to the x and to the negative 2. So this is x squared minus 2x. Now they have the same denominator, so I can just add them. Plus 2x minus 1 divided by x minus 1 times x minus 2. Now I forgot my restrictions. My restrictions are x cannot equal 1 or 2. Now I'm going to need to do a little bit of algebra here. The minus 2x's add to 0. So this becomes x squared minus 1 divided by x minus 1 times x minus 2. Well, I can factor the numerator into x minus 1 times x plus 1 divided by x minus 1 times x minus 2. Now, lo and behold, the x minus 1's cancel, and I'm left with x plus 1 divided by x minus 2. Now, what do I do when I'm subtracting? Well, I really do the exact same thing. To get my least common denominator, let me do it this way. X plus 2, I'm going to go in and factor this denominator. I'll factor out an x minus 2 minus x plus 2, and I'll factor out a 2, x minus 2. So when I find my least common denominator, it's going to be x times x minus 2 times 2. Okay, I've got every term in there. So here I've got my function, x plus 2, and use your parentheses, divided by x times x minus 2. And I'll put a big space here. X plus 2 to x minus 2. Now what do I need to multiply this x times x minus 2 by to get my least common denominator? Well, I need to multiply by 2 over 2, and that's all. What do I need to multiply 2 x minus 2 by to get 2x times x minus 2? Well, That one's not too bad either. X over x. Now here comes the tricky part. If you didn't put your parentheses in, you're going to wind up making a mistake at this point, because you're going to forget to distribute this 2 to both terms. So now my numerator here becomes 2x plus 4 divided by x times x minus 2. And then it's minus, distributing this, x squared plus 2x divided by x, oh, drop my 2 there, 2x times x minus 2. Well, now I can combine them over one denominator. I'm going to move this up here, kind of ran out of room there. So this is 2x plus 4 minus, and leave your parentheses there, x squared plus 2x divided by 2x, x minus 2. So distributing this negative sign, I'm going to get 2x plus 4 minus x squared minus 2x divided by 2x times x minus 2. Oh my goodness. Well, the first thing I need to do right now is list my restrictions. Since my least common denominator is x times x minus 2, I know x cannot equal 0 or 2. Now let me come back here. The 2x's will cancel. And this becomes 4 minus x squared divided by 2x times x minus 2. And when I factor this, it becomes a negative 1 times x minus 2, x plus 2, divided by 2x, x minus 2. Now, I see my x minus 2 cancels numerator and denominator. So I'm left with, what am I left with? Minus x plus 2 divided by 2x.